This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to a windy, cool afternoon sunset safari. As you can see, we've started off pretty well with some elephants, which is always a wonderful way to start. My name is Tristan, on camera. I have got Morgan this afternoon. I'm sure a lot of you will be pleased to know that Morgan has learned how to read some words in the time that we've been off camera. This morning, Morgan confessed to not knowing how to read a book, and, well, we've sat down and diligently read some books, and he's getting better. Yes, exactly. Anyway, before we get into all of that, remember, we are coming to you live from the African wilderness, and so we would love to hear from all of you. You can ask any questions that you have, and you can do so using hashtag WildEarth on Twitter, @FC on the YouTube chat stream, in the comments boxes of the various platforms we stream to, on the website, as well as kids. You can send your questions to kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Elephant? Why are you shaking your head at me? There's an elephant behind us that just shook its head. It obviously has realized that Morgan is a bit of a delinquent, and shaking its head in disbelief that you haven't read a book yet, Morgan. The best part about that whole thing is that this morning we... Oh, that's Tessa that's talking. Oh, hello, Tessa. Sorry, my radio's on, everybody. Let me turn that down. The best part about this morning is Morgan has a friend that he has known for 6 years who messaged him and told him, you know, what is this nonsense about you've never read a book? To which Morgan replied, as full of nonsense as he always does, that he hadn't. And his friend's mother told him that she wasn't surprised, which didn't feel very good, did it, Morgan? Were you a bit taken aback by that?
I was shocked.
Shooketh to the core. All right, let's actually talk about elephants. Now that we've discussed Morgan's lack of reading ability, I'm just going to go around so that we can actually see them, since they've hidden themselves away. Just give me 2 minutes. I was so sad because ex-Ranger, you were saying that we should get a pop-up book for Morgan, and actually the highlight of my day was when I read a tweet today that said Morgan must be careful about using a pop-up book that uses the animals as an ABC book, because the giraffe might poke his eye out. And knowing Morgan's luck over the last few weeks, that is highly possible. Morgan has almost set fire to himself twice. You've almost fallen out the car. What else have you done? Spilled coffee everywhere, multiple times. Yeah, multiple mugs of coffee have gone down. Morgan has had an absolute nightmare of late. You would swear that he has 2 left feet and 2 left hands, but he's actually not that bad. We just like to give him a lot of trouble. All right, there we go. It's a much better view. Oh, even got a Lilac-breasted to get some color amongst the grey ellies. There we go. Well done, Morgan. At least you can operate a camera.
There's no words on it.
There's no words on it, exactly. It's just buttons. Far more fun. Buttons and pictures. Anyway, as you can see, like I said, a little bit of coloration, just to add some color to the day. Looks like the sun is also going to come out, which is nice. Right, talking about sun, it's time for you guys to have a look at what the weather will be across our 2 locations this afternoon.
Good afternoon and welcome to andBeyond in Ngala. We have ourselves a small herd of elephant here to start off our afternoon. They're enjoying some lovely green leaves here, just enjoying the sunshine and a little bit of wind as well. But good afternoon, my name is Amy, and behind the camera this afternoon we have Gert. And we are out here on andBeyond in Ngala enjoying the cool breeze. These elephants are as well. Nothing like some elephants to start off a little afternoon game drive. Oh, there's another one moving from the left. Thank you so much, everyone. It's good to join the WildEarth family. I'm excited to be here and to share the bush with you for the next few days. Zoe, I could not agree more. There's something very special about elephants, one of my favorite animals. And when they like this, so peacefully feeding through the bush, just doing their thing, it's so wonderful to just be able to watch them. Ooh. I don't know if you can hear that, but there was a soft grumble. Definitely some communication going on here between the elephants. Oh, there's some coming on the left. Looks like they had a little bit of a tussle. I think possibly that was just one of the older cows telling the others to maybe start moving, maybe let's head in a different direction, because I just noticed that these are now moving off to where that older cow was making that noise from. Oh, that one's just scratching it. Well, one just put its trunk onto its ear. All right, so I think these elephants look like they're moving further and further into the bush here. And what we're going to do, we're going to carry on and head down towards a waterhole, maybe see if we can find some lions this afternoon.
Good luck, Amy. I hope that you find your lions. It's always nice to find things when it's your first drive. I remember back to my first drive, I actually had lions on mine. Can you believe it, Morgan? You can't believe it, I know, but I did. I spent time with the Djuma Pride. It's a nerve-wracking experience sitting in front of this camera for the very first time. So I wish Amy all the luck in the world, and I hope that she has a wonderful afternoon and that she enjoys the experience, and that, you know, all of you are very kind to her, because it's important that, you know, be nice to one another. Anyway, our elephants, unlike Amy's, are not disappearing into the thickets. They're just at the moment having a very long stationary feed. Well, one's actually going to the toilet there, Morgan. Do you see that?
The little one.
The little one, yeah, it's having problems, but it's going to come out soon. There we go. So that's very close in, Morgan. Well, thank you, little elephant. This elephant was just camera shy. It was like, don't you dare point that at my backside while I'm doing my business. You see, being caught for being a peeping Tom, Morgan. Anyway, the elephant has gone underneath the other one's and it's just doing its business behind the back of its mother. I don't know how we recover from that. But nice eyes heard this, actually. Let's change the subject completely. There's a number of individuals here, and then lots to the north of us as well. I'm pretty sure they're all going to kind of mill about here and then eventually make their way to water. It's quite nice because you can actually hear them breaking grass and various other things. Do they break grass or do they pluck grass? What do you think?
That's a real question.
That is a real question. It's like a soft or a medium pillow. It's one of these things that you just can't answer. Morgan's no help today, everybody. Anyway, I think we shall spend some time with these elephants and enjoy them. There's not much else to follow up on from this morning at this time of the afternoon, so I'm going to stay with them and see how they go and what they get up to. Hopefully they'll eventually take us to a waterhole.
Welcome back to Juma in the Sabi sands. So I was actually just taking a little bit of a bumble heading off towards a dam on the western side, and on my way bumped into some lionesses. And it looks like we've got 3 very comfortable Talamati lionesses, and it's the same 3 that were much further on the western side this morning. And it seems like they've moved almost 2 kilometers, and I have no idea why they've come to this spot. But here they are. So my name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari here this afternoon. Behind the camera we have Paul. And absolutely mind-blowing that they've moved to this particular area. They had quite a comfortable position earlier in the long grass, lots of guarri trees. Look how that lioness is watching. An impala went darting past. And she woke up for it, but was a bit slow with her reaction. So these are the same 3 lionesses that were on Biffle's Hook earlier. They've moved about 2 kilometers further east over lunch. But it's good to know that the lioness with the silver purple look in her eye has kept up, and she is still with them. She looked like she was fighting a yawn there. It definitely saddens me to see a lioness in that condition. You can see her ribs very clearly today. And that's always a concern when you can see an animal's ribs. And yet, she is still resilient. She's still with the pride. So earlier on, she was the very, very sleepy one. At the moment, she's actually the most awake and the most alert. And that's probably because that impala ran quite close behind her, so it kind of gave her a bit of a fright. I don't know if she's maybe going to move closer to the other 2 lionesses. She doesn't have much shade where she is. Luckily, it's kind of overcast at the moment, but when the sun breaks through, it is incredibly hot. Diane, I absolutely agree. She looks like she needs a very good meal. She's a lot thinner than you would like to see on any lion or lioness. In fact, any animal. So, yeah, she definitely needs a good meal. I'm hoping that by sticking with these 2 lionesses that are healthy, she might be able to get some food. It's also going to be handy that because there's only 3 of them, if the lionesses do bring something down, she's got a much higher chance of actually getting some of the food as opposed to when she was following the other 9 members of the Talamatis, or the 8 Talamatis plus dark mane, sorry. So she's definitely got a higher chance of a meal. The other 2 lionesses are very, very sleepy. They're actually pretty much almost on their backs. sleeping a lot closer to us. And they didn't even move when that impala ran past. Alright, I don't think these lions are going to do very much this afternoon, so I might stick with them for a little bit longer and then head off towards one of the dams. But why don't we take a look at what you can do at Pridelands.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
Well, if you like elephants, since we're looking at elephants, then Pridelands is definitely a place you would want to go and visit. And it's also a lovely bunch of people that are there, so worthwhile endeavour to sign up for. Right, we're still with our Ellies, and so they're basically just feeding and taking it very, very easy at the moment, taking a chilled Saturday afternoon. But we've decided, Morgan and I, because we're all about education on this program, and we would like to teach everybody, and I think this would be a welcome learning opportunity for any... sorry, my head's in the way now, apparently, everybody. It's just interrupted me in my speech, in my monologue. We've decided, because this is a learning opportunity, I'm sure we have young kids watching, that maybe we shall do the alphabet with Morgan, with the help of all of you at home. So every segment, we have to come up with a letter and a word for Morgan to learn. I feel like, obviously, we can do... this morning we did L for lion, so Morgan has got that down pat, and I suppose we can do E for elephant now, but... we'll have to come up with something every segment, and all of you will have to be the suggestions for each segment as to what letter and word we can teach Morgan as we go through our afternoon's game drive. You all right with that, Morgan?
100%.
Well, if you weren't, it's tough luck, because we were going to do it anyway. Anyway, this is the little baby that looked like it was struggling to take a poo earlier. Morgan showed us in great detail, or showed me in great detail, what it looked like. But it actually, now that I've seen it properly and it's turned, it's not actually struggling to make a poo. It looks like it's actually got some sort of problem. I can't see nicely yet. I'm hoping it's going to turn for me again, and we can see if maybe there's a kind of hemorrhoid there, or if it's got a bit of a prolapse or something like that. I mean, a prolapse is actually not from that. That's more giving birth, so that's very much the wrong term, but hemorrhoid would be the right kind of terminology, I think. So I'm hoping it'll turn around so I can actually get a really good look at it. It's not actually a laughing matter, that. I'm sure it's very uncomfortable for this little Ellie, if it is one of those. Excuse my zip, sorry, I'm just trying to get my binoculars so that when it turns I can have a look. Cute little Ellie, though. And condition-wise looks absolutely fine. It doesn't look like the stomach is particularly distended or that it's lost any weight anywhere. I suppose the hips are sticking out a little bit, but nothing too crazy. The rest of it looks pretty healthy. They're absolutely loving a buffalo thorn that's leafing at the moment. Us as humans, we can eat those buffalo thorns, those leaves. It can be like a substitute almost for a salad. And so for Ellies, you can imagine how delicious those are. The only problem is that a buffalo thorn is packed with thorns that are very nasty by nature. And so you've got to be a bit careful about the way that you feed off them. And you'll see they'll be quite delicate in how they handle these branches. Same little one. You're just breaking the tip off of that branch. There we go, a little leaflet. Come on, turn around for us. Doesn't seem like it wants to turn at this stage. I'm still trying to figure out how to actually eat these leaves off this horrible thorny branch that it's found. I love watching the trunk though, how it works through those leaves in order to find the little green ones. Alright, here we go. It's turning now. Let's see. No, it is a poo that is stuck there. That cannot be comfortable. Oh. It's weird. It almost looks like the dropping, the bolus is what we call it, has turned and inverted. And instead of coming out in a certain shape, it's kind of become out elongated. And it looks like it's almost stuck. Wow, that's got to be uncomfortable. Sorry, little Ellie. Hopefully it will be able to eat something that will be, she'll go and eat a few tamburtis, which will give it a bit more of a looser stomach and maybe help just pass that. Shame, Ellie. Doesn't seem to be too perturbed though. It's feeding pretty well. So, seems to be alright. I always feel bad when we see little animals that must be in discomfort in some way. Amazing to watch this trunk work. It's absolutely loving all those little green leaves that are growing on that sickle bush. I wonder why I can't pass that ball. Oh, hello. Kevin, do elephants cry? Their eyes always have that white stuff, so that's just a secretion to protect the eye from dust and from all the other things that they throw in their face and keep the eye nice and lubricated. So crying wise, I personally have never seen tears come from the actual eye ducts. I've seen them leaking from the gland on the side of their head, that they leak quite heavily when they're experiencing a range of emotion, but never actually seen them crying from the eyes. Why won't it push it out? I'm so freaked out by this, actually, is probably the right way. It cannot be comfortable. Morgan, I'm glad you haven't gone in for a close angle there. You just behave yourself and stay back. Otherwise you're going to the naughty corner. So weird. And it doesn't look like it's even remotely trying to push. This is one thing that I love about nature. It doesn't matter how many hours you spend out here. There's always things that can happen that you've never seen before. And quite honestly, I've never seen an elephant struggling to pass its own feces. Or dung is actually the right word for a herbivore. So I'm quite intrigued by it. I know it's not that intriguing actually, but it's just weird. It's definitely that the actual poo is turned the wrong way. Somehow. Maybe it's just not backed up enough to have enough pressure to push the rest out. There's no way to fix that than just to eat, which it's doing, so I'm sure it'll be fine. What a lovely topic we've gone down. Morgan, if you can go in close on that little one eating the little leaves, it's amazing to watch this little trunk. Come on, go back now. Of course now when I tell Morgan it doesn't want to do it anymore. Alright, well we'll hang out with our Ellie and see if it eventually drops its ball of poo. Hopefully we'll see some success at some point in the next little bit.
As WildEarth has shown, a guide is critical to your enjoyment when on safari. Safari Guide of the Year is an annual event which creates awareness for these men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. WildEarth fully supports this initiative that gives more credit to a profession that drives our economy and flies South African flags higher than most. In the lead up to our live award ceremony, where the Safari Guide of the Year 2021 will be crowned, we are inviting all our viewers to join us for a special fireside chat. Open to everyone, this unique event invites some of the top guides in the country to Juma on the 26th of September, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Civilized to just found some black rhino tracks. A mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. They're somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're gonna walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Welcome back to our 3 very sleepy lionesses here on Juma. And it's the cutest thing. These 2 closest to us have decided it's the most comfortable position to lie on top of each other, facing each other, with paws intertwined. And it's possibly the cutest pose I've seen in lions in a very long time. It's just a mess of paws and faces. It's always something to admire about lions, is the social bonds that they have. I mean, for these 2 to be lying like this, it's a really important part of their day. A cuddle here or there, just touching another one while you sleep. It shows how close they are. Jelaine, an impala would certainly fill them. It would be enough for the 3 of them for the next day or 2, if that. But it won't last them a week like a buffalo would. Because there are only 3 of them, these 2 have already eaten a little bit, and definitely more than the one with the glaucoma in her one eye. They would definitely try and take down an impala, and it would feed them enough for now. It's got quite a bit of meat on it. So it would probably be finished, I would say at least by even tonight or tomorrow morning if they got one now. But it would still last them quite a while because it's going to take quite long for the body to digest the red meat. It would be very interesting to watch though, because there would still be a lot of noise and scuffling happening amongst the 3 of them. It would be very nice to see that thin lioness eating though. I wonder what she's seeing. There's no vultures or anything flying around, and yet she keeps looking up. I don't know if she can hear something or see something that we can't. Every now and then she kind of just looks up to the sky as though she's following a vulture's movements. I'm actually quite surprised to see that they are looking so comfortable and still resting in this spot. It doesn't offer a lot of shade because the trees here don't really have leaves. We're actually on the fire break. So you can see on the ground, it's a lot of sand and then tiny little sharp spikes of grass. And to me, that wouldn't seem very comfortable to rest on, but they don't seem to have a problem with it. Definitely one of the benefits of having, I guess, a lot of hair. Dobby, I really like your name. So we know that Dark Mane was seen close to quarantine this morning, so he's not that close by. We don't know where the Mbali or S8 male is though. So, I mean, they definitely could be close by. As the crow flies from here to quarantine, where Dark Mane is probably only around 4 kilometers, maybe 5, so it's not that far. So, for example, if he were to start calling, then you might find that these lionesses might get up and move towards him, or they might even start calling back. That being said, though, with the overthrow that's currently happening, him calling, as much as it's a display of dominance, would also then attract the Mbali male back again. So it's a bit of a toss-up between finding the lionesses again and staying alive, or staying kind of semi-dominant, I guess. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these two moves just now. I think they're probably going to start getting hot fairly soon on the side that's touching the ground. And then what they'll do is they kind of flip over onto the other side so that the side that's sweating, touching the ground, gets exposed to the breeze, and then they can cool off like that. But you'll probably still find they'll end up touching anyway. When they flip, they might be back to back, still touching down the middle. There you can see that silver in her eye very, very clearly. So this lioness is a lot more alert this afternoon than she was this morning. She pretty much didn't lift her head at all the entire time this morning. And now she seems to be more up than down. And I don't know if it's because it's cooled off a bit. Maybe because they've moved, and now because she's moved, she might be a bit uncomfortable. She might be starting to get even hungrier because she's used energy to get here. She's definitely more awake this afternoon. It's very sad to see her in this condition, though. There are definitely more flies around this afternoon than there were this morning. You can see she's flicking her tail fairly consistently, moving her ears. So she's definitely trying to keep the flies off of her wounds. But I think I'm going to leave these lionesses here for the afternoon. I'm going to head on towards the dam, and I'll send you over to Tristan with his elephants.
Much more alert than she was this morning. She's going to leave these guys and head down to a waterhole. She'll have me there.
Well, hopefully there'll be something stirring them up there that they'll come down and hunt at some point. Okay, so we're still with our Ellies. It's actually a herd that I've seen quite a number of times before. I just hadn't noticed the one female yet. She's got a female that her tusk grows under her trunk, so it like comes back underneath. It's that one right there. Of course, she would be right behind a bush, but you can see the tusk kind of growing underneath and then towards the other tusk. Our little poo boy elephant has relieved himself, and I'm sure he is very relieved too. All right, Morgan, let's try quickly just get in front, because they seem like the whole herd's going to come down towards us. If we just get ourselves into a slightly different position, just give themselves a nice big gap, and if they're in the clearing, which will be so nice to see. We did learn that F is for freedom. I taught Morgan that F is for freedom, and that is what happens when you have a blocked bottom, and that blocked bottom is relieved in some way, shape or form. So F is for freedom. Well done, Morgan. Gold star for you. See, look how nice this is, Morgan. Nice clearing, lots of elephants. Making your day easy, making your life easy today. I mean, bar the fact that you have to spend it with me.
Yeah, that's tough.
It is tough. I'm sorry that you got assigned to me. You know what the worst news is?
I'll definitely think about leaving.
Yeah, you don't leave, Morgan. Don't do that. The worst part, Morgan, is that you're going to have to be with me every second day of the rest of your shift.
That sounds terrible.
Don't lie, you like it.
I'll speak to him.
You're going to speak to him, Paul?
On Wendy.
Okay, fine, be that way. How cool is this, though, just to have them out in the clearing? You know, very seldom do elephants like to walk like this, especially not at this time of the day. You know, at night time they do this quite regularly, but in the daytime, it's normally so hot on this clearing that they can't afford to be right out in the open, so they typically don't do this. So it's awesome to see them at this time of the day walking around. This is a very, very, very old female elephant. You can see, look at her condition. High hip area. Not hip area, shoulder area. Don't laugh. Morgan, behave yourself in the back there.
I'll buy one of those kitties charts with the body parts on it.
So if you didn't hear that, Morgan says he's going to buy me a chart, a kitties charts with the anatomy on it, so that I can learn how to. Thank you, Morgan. So kind. Will it be a pop-up book?
It will.
Oh, wonderful. Anyway, what I was saying is that you can see her shoulder blades are very pronounced. The temples are sunken in. Even her hip bones are fairly sunken in. So, you know, she's an old girl that been around for a long time, I would imagine. This one coming from behind us looks like it wants to be troublesome. It's got this little swagger to it that elephants get sometimes that make me laugh. And they think that they have all the attitude. Lindy, you say T is for tough. Yes, tough luck that I was assigned to Morgan today.
I know the feeling.
You know the feeling.
So does the elephant with its hip bones.
Exactly. Oh, tusk. Oh, that's actually a very good one. T is for tusk, Morgan. You got that?
Yeah.
You do know we're going to test you at the end of the drive. We're going to put you in front of the camera and make you say all of them. You don't do well with tests. Well, evidently, if you've gotten to this point and you haven't learned to read a book, then, you know, we're in a lot of problems. So clearly tests didn't go well. No, I'm joking. Everybody, just so you know, Morgan can read. I feel like his parents are going to phone me and shout at me if they've been watching. They've probably spent a fortune on his education, and now they're going to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about.
They'd probably agree.
They'd probably agree. Classic. This is so cool. I'm loving the fact that they're coming out and walking around for us. It looks like they're heading towards Gari Dam now. They're sort of cutting over quarantine. At first I thought they were going to go down into the drainage line and maybe head towards Treehouse, but now their general direction seems to be changing and going straight over quarantine to the sort of east again. I'm hoping they're going to go down to the dam and go and have a drink. It'll be really nice if this whole herd goes down, because if they spread along the edge of the dam, it's going to be beautiful to see. There's a lot of elephants in this group. Oh, that's a big girl. Don't you love that head bob?
Yeah, the hips are high.
Hey. Listen, yeah, Morgan. Morgan's having a go at me talking about her hips are high when we're talking about her shoulders. It's going to be a long afternoon, everybody. For me and probably for all of you at home.
And for me.
And for you, Morgan. Of course. actually wonder how many kind of kilometers or miles she's traveled. It's definitely an older girl, that. Alright, well, we're going to stay with them and see if they're going to make their way to water. It's starting to warm up a little bit, so I wouldn't be surprised. Hopefully they'll head to the nearest waterhole at Kalahari Dam.
Well, we have found a giraffe this afternoon. Let's just sit and enjoy, watch and see what she does.
Afternoon, specialist.
Welcome back. So I'm actually taking a little bumble towards the dam, and there is a tiny baby Steenbok that we have just noticed. I hope we can get it and it doesn't run. A very, very small one that is probably one of the smallest ones I've seen on its own. You can kind of see it. It's hiding itself a little bit. Looks like a young female. Definitely looking a little bit nervous. So for a little Steenbok like this, oh, don't hide your face. In this kind of weather, you can imagine how nervous it's feeling. There's no safety in numbers. You're very small, so you're an easy prey species, especially for leopards. Oh, why are you hiding? And so that's why it's kind of looking a bit nervous. Massive, massive ears and very sharp eyes on these little buck. And that's exactly why when you live alone, or at most in a pair, maybe when you have a baby, you'll have 3 of you. But you've got to be able to detect everything around you. So as much as she's hiding while she's feeding, she's chosen her spot very well. She's very well camouflaged in there. But at the same time, she's still going to be aware. She's still going to stop in between feeding and look up, look around, and make sure of her surroundings, just like that. You can see the ears moving. Doing her utmost to hide from the camera and from leopards as well. Gabby, a Steenbok would protect itself mostly by running, actually, which is why they've got very, very, very long legs. A big male Steenbok would have quite long, sharp, thin horns, so mostly for fighting with each other. A young one obviously would have much smaller horns. Their main defense mechanism is honestly running at massive and very, very impressive speeds. They've also got that beautiful flash of white underneath the tail, and that also helps. It's called flash coloration. A lot of the smaller animals have it, and what that would do is allow it to kind of follow its mom in the long grass as she flicks her tail up. You can see the flash of white, but at the same time it might also shock a predator if it lifts its tail very, very quickly. That flash of white looks like almost something coming towards you when you're running at speed. Steenbok pride themselves, though, on being able to change direction very quickly. So that would be the main defense mechanism, running really fast, zigzagging so that predators can't make the quick turns with you and getting out of there. Alright, I'm going to leave this little one to carry on with its afternoon and send you back to Tristan, who has his elephants on the move.
Well, Tessa carries on her way. Our Ellies are quite mobile, actually. They're moving pretty quickly, bar this little group that's feeding at the moment. Poor Bushwillow's having a horrible day. She's been attacked by like 12 elephants. Certainly it's going to come out worse for wear after all of this. But you can see why they're at it. Little green leaves that are coming through. So they eat that for a little bit. Then it flushes with tannins, and they then move off. Here comes our old female with her high hips. Before you say it, Morgan, beat you to the punchline now. How's that? It's cool. Never gets old having Ellies walk around you like this. Unfortunately, they're not heading towards the dam. They've changed direction a little bit. They're heading more kind of southwards. And now? I don't know if you guys could hear the grumbling over the wind, but for some reason one of them got very upset. I suspect maybe it was another car that arrived, but they didn't do anything. They parked quite far away, and all of a sudden this one just had a little temper tantrum. Strange. Maybe it stood on a thorn. See how they're touching the baby, so maybe it was the young one that just felt like it was something was wrong or didn't like it, and it screamed, and that's why everyone came to its aid. It's possible. Granny bum, it's possible. Elephants sometimes will actually eat sand. But I don't think that was the case in this particular situation, actually. I think what happened is the ball, as it was coming out, turned slightly, and then it just came out at an odd angle, and there wasn't enough pressure yet. So it might have been the last ball in the line at that point. There wasn't enough pressure, but once more came along, then it actually just popped out pretty easily. So I think it was just about A bit more force was needed because of its turn, and because of the way it was coming out. So, but yeah, they do eat sand from time to time. In fact, it's quite interesting in Congo. They go into the rivers there and they actually push their trunks into the sand and they blow bubbles. And what that does is it gets rid of the sand on top and forces salt into the water. And then they drink around that area and actually take that salt up and absorb it. A lot of the time, these kind of things, like the vegetation that they eat, is sodium deficient. So that's why you have things called salt licks in reserves where it's not an open system. And the animals will often go and lick at the salt to try and get that into their diet. And imagine, with the eating of the soil, that's sometimes why they're doing it, is to get certain nutrients into their gut. Such a lovely elephant sighting, this. I mean, they've literally walked all around us, all out in the clearings. It's been very, very cool to see. Now this one, some of you might pick up that the tree itself has been wrapped with a wire. I know a lot of people have asked about this. It is part and parcel of the landscape now. All the trees have been wrapped like this. If you look at the damage that marula has taken, that was all done last year. So you see how it was stripped? So that wire there behind that elephant has actually been wrapped around the tree to try and stop these guys from stripping all the bark and killing all these beautiful big marulas that grow around here. So you'll see it on knobthorns and marulas particularly. Those big trees and iconic and established trees have really been taking an absolute pounding at the hands of the elephants, and so they're just trying to make sure that the big ones at least survive the onslaught that the elephants have brought the last few years. Now a lot of you might say, but that's interfering and those kinds of things. So unfortunately with elephants, because of their size and because of their ability to eat so much, they can't kind of stay in one area without overeating. It's impossible for them. They require too much food and things just don't grow that fast. And because we've cut off all the migration routes, and as people we've unfortunately grown so much that there's not a lot of space for elephants to move, the pressure that they put on in certain areas is extreme and unnatural. And so that's why they've taken the decision to wrap all the mature trees and just stop the ellies from destroying them. Otherwise you'll end up in a situation in a few years where this whole clearing with all these big trees that you see in the background there will all be dead. They'll be just skeletons of a time when they used to grow. So that's why they've taken that decision. So if you see it, don't be alarmed. The reason also why they've gone for quite a wide gauge like that, so a wide gap between the wires, is that so that if leopards climb, that they don't get their feet caught in it or anything, or their toes or anything like that. It's more than enough space for them to go through it without getting. And I've seen a leopard hoisting a kill over this stuff without any problem whatsoever. So before anybody worries about that, it still can be utilized. And squirrels too, I've seen them running up and down without any worries about that wire. They seem to be moving on a little bit now. I'm surprised they're not going for water. Maybe they drank a Gallagher pan. The elephants are clever. They hear when the water is turned on, so they can hear the pump running, and then they hear the trickling of water, and often they'll then go running towards that water hole at that time, when they'll push their trunk right to where that fresh water is coming out. It's the cleanest water they can get. It's coming out of a borehole, so nice clean filtered water, and really a good option if you want to drink, particularly for elephants. So they might have come from Gallagher Pan, and normally that pump runs in the middle of the day. It wouldn't surprise me if that's where they've been. Alright, let's try go around again, Morgan, otherwise we're going to break your back trying to turn you around, and then I'll be one more thing that you're going to blame me about. It just gives me a little smirk and a little head nod, like old gangster Morgan in the back here. What's up, homie?
I can't wait to play.
Sorry, you can't wait to?
Oh, what?
Sorry? You never do. You're always innocent, Morgan. So I'm driving extremely slowly on this open area because the last time Morgan was on this open clearing was at night with Trishala, and they were chasing a honey goose. For those of you that don't know what a honey goose is, it's when you don't know if it's a white-tailed mongoose or a honey badger. So it's a honey goose, and as they were chasing the honey goose Trishada, unfortunately, was it a stop?
I think so.
And I was going to say clipped, but she more like she mowed over a stump and the whole car. Okay, go, okay. Yes, you can have your green grass. I don't want to come and take your green grass. I just want it to go around you. But instead you want to be that way. Don't be that way. Anyway, so they hit this stump with a bit of speed, I would say. And the whole car kind of tipped to one side. And Morgan almost fell out on the side. You saw your life flashing before your eyes, didn't you? The ground rushing towards your face. Yeah.
Very dramatic.
Very dramatic. So I don't want him to relive an experience like that. So we just bumbling nice and slow, making sure that he's comfortable in the back there. You know, got to treat the cameraman well, otherwise they make us look like fools. This female is getting grumpy with us because she wants to eat all of these little sedges that are growing from where the seep is. And so she thinks we were going to be competition, but we're obviously not. But we'll just have to wait for her to finish. Just be a little patient.
We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the water hole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we have arrived at one of the biggest waterholes that we have here in Ngala. And we've been bumbling around. Haven't seen very much on the way, but we went past that waterhole that I know Nick was speaking about as well, where we thought maybe the lions would come down out of that area where there was no signal. They were actually seen this morning. We went past there, but no luck, no signs of them. So we carried on and made our way more into the western area of the reserve. And here we are, just taking it in. I was hoping to find a hippo or two, but it looks like they've moved off, which is surprising, but also very much like hippos to be moving around when there's less and less water moving from one waterhole to the next. having a scan as well with my binoculars, just to see. There's some Egyptian geese on the shoreline, blacksmith, a lapwing or two. But just nice to be here on a Saturday afternoon, out in the wilderness. I think from here we are going to carry on over the dam wall, and there's another smaller waterhole just up ahead, and then we'll start making our way maybe towards the Timbavati River as it gets a little bit cooler this evening. Maybe some time that we can head down that way. Sorry, I didn't get the name there. Go again. I think it was Leto. Okay, yeah. So the water in this dam, well, it comes from the rain. So throughout the year, especially in the summertime here in this part of South Africa, we get a lot more rain, and it collects. As you can see, this waterhole, there's slopes down towards it, and so the water runs down and collects here. It's actually not, as far as I know, too deep. I've seen hippos in here sort of stand up towards the edges, and they stick out quite a bit, but right in the center, I wouldn't be able to tell you for sure how deep it is. But I always know with waterholes, they're not quite as deep as they look. I think, I don't know, maybe between 1 meter and 2 meters at the very deepest, but obviously changes throughout the year as well. So as the rains are going to come quite soon, hopefully, and the water level will rise more and more. But now it's really at the lowest point, and quite a lot of water in it as well for this time of year. I mean, a few years ago we were looking at this particular waterhole almost being dried up completely. So it's nice to see it so full with the rains just about a month or so away. It's nice to know that there's so much water here for the animals. But I think from here, like I mentioned, we're going to move off and just check the other smaller waterhole up ahead, but otherwise make our way back towards the river.
Welcome back to Juma. I am sitting at Buffelshoek Dam and seeing all this water. I'm very, very excited to see Penguin Beach pop up. I've always loved penguins. I've been very lucky to see a few in my life, so I can't wait to see Penguin Beach. So I know that there are some hippos here. I'm hoping that they pop up soon because they haven't taken a breath in the last 2 or 3 minutes. So they should need to come up for air fairly soon. Very dramatic skyline with the clouds rolling in. And the wind is definitely quite strong in this particular area. Oh, there we go. I don't know about everyone else, but I got quite a fright actually. You'd expect there to be quite a lot of bird life around today. The only real birds that I've seen at the dam. Yes, waterholes are very calming and serene. It's amazing to be able to spend time here because, you know, all the birds that I've seen so far, things like blacksmith lapwings and some Burchell starlings, especially along the edges of the waterhole. But there always seems to be an array of weavers and other birds as well that hang around the edges of dams, so it's always one of my favorite places to go. Three-banded plovers are also one of my favorites. That's actually one calling now. Let's just have a little listen. Maybe we might hear some more bird calls. And those impalas and those leopard tracks. I found some leopard tracks coming towards this dam. We're not far from here, so maybe we'll get lucky. Some impalas coming down right on the opposite bank to have a drink. Alice, so there's that beautiful kind of almost like a baby pink color on very particular parts of the hippo. You'll find it especially places like the ears, the eyes, the nostrils, those kinds of areas. It's usually got to do more with sunburn actually than anything else. So a hippo's skin is very, very sensitive to sunburn. And what will end up happening is they actually secrete like a pinkish fluid onto their skin that helps ease the sunburn. And so the areas that are out of the water more, like the eyes, the ears, the nostrils, because that's pretty much the only part that sticks out, and then the stomach as well when they're out of the water, those areas would be more pink just because there are areas that are ridged and more exposed to the sun. And see how much they stand out there. Probably also helps them identify each other to a degree as well in the water, because you can imagine if they are kind of looking at each other from across the dam, it would be a lot easier to pick up the movement with that little bit of color, although that's probably very secondary reasoning. Ian, hippos are born with a very short tail, so it looks like they don't have a tail, but in fact it's just a very, very short stubby tail with little fine hairs around the edge. And so it can look like they have no tail because naturally when they're walking, when they're standing, their tail fits between kind of the bum and down between the legs, so it's very, very smooth looking, and that's what causes them to look like they have no tail. The only time you really notice the tail is if they're running. The tail will be kind of standing out to the back, or if they're marking their territory, or for example if they are excreting feces, if they're having a poo. Basically what they do is they use that tail almost like a little rudder, and they flick it very fast from side to side, and that helps to kind of disperse the feces everywhere. It sprays like a shower sideways. And that they'll do when they're scent marking, so walking past bushes and things, they'll scent mark to spray it as much as they can onto the tree. They also do it in the water so that it disperses into smaller pieces in the water that they're living in. They use it pretty much also as a dominance display. So although it looks like they don't have a tail, it's just a very, very short tail. Those impalas had a very, very quick drink. They appeared and disappeared so quickly. And actually, that's a very interesting similarity between hippos and impalas. They both function on a system called a harem system. Great that we had both of them here at the same time, actually, because basically what would happen is the same between both. The males will defend a territory, they'll defend a herd or a pod for hippos that is female dominant, so that they can have babies with all of those females. And it can range in number anywhere from a very small amount to a very large amount. This pod in particular is only 4 at the moment, and it can get a lot bigger, but it's a very similar system where the harem is you'll have one dominant male who defends a whole lot of different females. So in this pod there'll be one dominant male and then preferably females and calves. Very, very similar in impalas, where there'd be one dominant male, females and lambs. And then as the males get older, they get kicked out and they'll defend this territory. Right, so I'm definitely going to stick around here a little bit longer. The sun has just come out, so I'm hoping that that will encourage some more animals to come down and drink. Definitely a beautiful day here at Buffelshoek Dam. Very peaceful. And now that the sun is out, I'm seeing a lot more bird life, and I'm hoping there's going to be some more animals that come down in the heat. But let's have a listen, see if we can hear any nice clear bird calls. Very tranquil to sit at a dam. I love the sound of a hippo when it comes up and lets out that big breath of air. Almost sounds like a giant bubble popping. I'm one of those people that could sit at a watering hole all day and just watch as
Well, we are sitting here with a beautiful bird of prey, and as we were about to go live, both Fat and I were like, is it gonna fly? Is it gonna fly? But it seems that this juvenile martial eagle is sitting really nicely for us in the tree, and for once not flying away as we've gone live. Just have a look at it. The afternoon sun just falling so beautifully on its colors. Have a look at its head, still white in color, those darker eyes. Oh, and there we go. Look at those wings. Sure. And oh, wonderful. Stopped again for us, just so within view. But the wingspan of a martial eagle always blows me away, over 2 meters in size. And I was just pointing out the color of the head still being light, and as it transitions, it'll get a darker and darker sort of coloring, that the martial eagle that we know. But did you notice how close it actually flew to the ground? It wasn't soaring high above or above the trees. It flew quite low above the grass and then up again, perched on a tree. And I wonder if it was looking if there was anything to eat. Maybe something scurrying along that it heard, picked up on, flew across, nothing to catch, and then then landed on the tree there on the right. We don't often see too many martial eagles here all that often, but it has been quite a few in the last few days actually, which has been really nice to see. The biggest eagle that we get out here quite a few times. I think Nick had one yesterday as well. You can just see it looking all the time now, looking back at us. It's looking up, looking around, looking down. Maybe doing a little bit of preening there now with its beak, its bill. So Kevin wants to know what the biggest prey is that a martial eagle can hunt. Now, Kevin, there's many different, I guess, things that have been said that a martial eagle can hunt. I personally, the biggest thing I've seen him with is, I think, a puff adder, type of snake. But apparently they have been recorded to even take baby impalas. Now, yeah, a small antelope of that sort of size. But they enjoy eating things like rock monitor lizards, different types of snakes. As I mentioned, I saw one eating a puff adder at one stage. Things like squirrels, other birds definitely would fall prey to a martial eagle. But I think the biggest would be something like a small antelope. Just imagine with the wind, there's a little bit, quite a breeze today. And with the breeze, it may affect their hearing a little bit, but it doesn't matter too much because their eyesight is incredible, and they'll be sitting up on a branch like that and looking out for any signs of anything that they can hunt. Now, I didn't catch the name for that question, but it was about whether these birds are ever seen in flocks. And no, birds of prey, the martial eagle in particular, Simon, Okay, Simon. No, they're not seen in flocks. So, Simon, these birds and birds of prey in general, often seen on their own. They can also be seen in pairs, but not many. They sort of on their own, solo hunting on their own. And in the breeding season, they will come together with a mate. And that's generally where you would see one or two, perhaps even three actually, because a chick, they then rear, and they would maybe be up to three martial eagles together, but generally not more than that. Well, I think we might actually just sit here a little bit longer with this beautiful eagle. It's not often that we get them to stay still, so I think let's take advantage of that. Perhaps even see it fly again.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pigeal gland is something the Hippos have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Welcome back to Juma and the Sabi Sands. So I'm actually driving along the eastern boundary at the moment on Cheetah Cutline, and I'm looking for a leopard in particular. And I just wanted to stop and have a look. All of the impala are very, very jumpy today. And this is a very small bachelor herd. There's only 3 of them. But any noise and they want to move. And that's because of the wind. But it also gives me a gut feeling that there has been a predator in the area sometime today. I'm really, really hoping that when we stop like this, we might pick up some sounds or indications that there might be a predator close by. So I'm listening for alarm calls from birds, from animals, any sounds that the predators might make. You can see they're doing exactly the same thing.
For life.
Stopping and listening. Alright, so they are still kind of feeding. There's a little bit of new growth in the fire break. I just want to let them cross the road. And then I'm going to carry on. They don't look alarmed enough that there might be a predator right here. But they are nervous enough that I feel like there has been one. I've actually just noticed as well there are some dwarf mongooses in the termite mound that are just popping their heads out too, and those are one of my favorite predators. Hope we can get it. Just coming out on the top left there, you can see its head moving. There might be quite a few that pop in and out of the hole there, so that must be the termite mound that they live in. Oh, it's grooming. There it comes. So a dwarf mongoose is actually pretty much the smallest fully predatory species that we get here, which is quite amazing. They are ferocious hunters. They will attack insects, scorpions, anything that they can kind of have access to, and they're very good at digging. I've actually seen them eating snails quite a bit, which is incredible. Like little bears. Yes, they do look like little bears. It's incredible to be able to watch them grooming each other like that as well. So I think they're enjoying the little bit of afternoon sun that's actually trying to peek out between the clouds. And definitely enjoying a little cuddle and grooming session. I've always loved the little pink nose with the dark beady eyes. This is also probably one of the most social species, so you know that if you sit with a dwarf mongoose for long enough, you'll see some amazing social interactions happening, just like now. And a squirrel's joined the party and gone. You see that size difference between how big the squirrel is and how small the dwarf mongoose are. There's some more coming out at the top. So if you can hear some high-pitched squeaking, I don't know if you can, I'm hoping you can, that's actually dwarf mongooses that make that sound. It sounds almost like a whistle, very high-pitched whistle. Oh, unfortunately you can't hear it, but it's definitely one of the cuter calls of the bush, if you can call it that. It's a very high-pitched whistle. It almost sounds like they're chattering away with each other when it happens. But you can see why they would really make an amazing home out of a large termite mound like this. So many holes and entrances. There's a massive tunnel network inside there, so there's more than enough space for the colony to be moving around. Jerome, there is quite a strict hierarchy that you would find in animals like this dwarf mongoose. So in dwarf mongooses in particular, there's a very dominant alpha pair, and the females actually dominate the males. So most likely there's going to be a very dominant female, so she would be groomed by the other mongooses, and her little ones as well would take preference. So there's definitely a very, very strict rank or hierarchy with any interactions that they have as dwarf mongooses. It's actually really incredible that alpha pair will stay together for life unless one of the partners dies. So basically whatever the alpha pair decides is what goes for these ones. And you might find that the alphas would be, whoop, everybody's just panicked and run back up to the top. You might find that they would be the first ones to come out and groom or sunbathe. Yes, they do remind me as well of baby hyenas, Megan. Also very similar structure to hyenas. They're actually quite closely related to hyenas, more closely related than wild dogs, lions or leopards are to hyenas. And it's again that kind of structure of having an alpha. They pretty much initiate everything, whether it's breeding or feeding, moving out of the den site, and even defense as well, which is quite incredible. So you can imagine they are quite alert to everything around them. They'll get preyed on by things like snakes, birds of prey, the smaller carnivores as well. So I think that's why they all shot back up towards the main entrance there just now. They must have seen a movement they weren't so happy with. So it's incredible to see them foraging. Mandy, so the average for dwarf mongooses is 3 per litter, but it can vary. 2 to 4 is usually the kind of given amount. But yeah, the average is 3, and it's the alpha female that initiates the breeding, so she would be the one that has the little mongoose pups. It's actually very interesting. She'll actually even give the babysitting rights over, so only the alpha can breed, and if she decides it's time to go feeding and she needs to leave the little ones behind, she actually delegates to the other mongooses in the colony. Some will stay behind and babysit, some will be in charge of grooming, some will be in charge of kind of defending the territory. And so while she leads whatever is happening, the others will fall in and fill in with the duties that need to be done around the colony. I've seen many a dwarf mongoose go after a scorpion, which has been quite incredible. That is so cute, that interaction. So it definitely looks like the one on the right is quite a bit smaller, so it might be an older pup from a previous litter being groomed. It's got its little leg in the air. So I'm trying to think what the biggest colony of mongooses I've ever seen is. Probably close to 25 or 30 dwarf mongooses in a colony. I'd be very interested to kind of see how many are actually in this colony in total, because the average is normally quite a lot less, somewhere like 12 to 15 in a colony, but I've seen quite a large colony. In fact, a very cute colony came past my bedroom earlier. Yeah, yeah, there's that one on the right is definitely smaller. So we've definitely got some little ones here from a previous litter. So just by nature with their lifestyle, they're actually only active during the day, and that fits into when they would be feeding as well, because if you think about it, a lot of the things that they would feed on, snails, scorpions, insects, beetles, even small reptiles, eggs, those kinds of things would be more active during the day as opposed to the nighttime. So it's probably one of my favorite things to see early in the morning and late in the evening, like now when it's starting to change towards getting darker. They kind of sit around the termite mound and warm up in the sun, and then everybody does the same thing at once, either back into the mound for sleeping or out to forage for the day. And it's incredible the way that they forage. They spread out and they've got the most acute sense of smell you can imagine, and they can smell and hear insects under the ground and moving through the bush and the grass, and they dive at it like crazy, and they'll dig and dig and dig. They've got very strong nails or claws and toes and incredibly sharp and strong teeth, with one of the probably strongest bite forces you can imagine as well for something so small, again similar to the hyena. And so they can really take down quite incredible things when they're all foraging together. But I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to leave them for the afternoon, let them settle in before nightfall, and carry on looking for some other animals.
Well, we are continuing to bumble here on andBeyond in Ngala, heading down, making our way from the western part of the reserve down towards the river. The sun's also starting to come out, which is most welcomed. It has been a bit chilly and overcast throughout the day, so it's nice to feel the sun on my skin again. I'm hoping that as we head towards the river, we may see something like a zebra, or even as it gets a little bit later, we'll drive along the river and keep our eyes open for anything special, maybe even a leopard. But we're gonna carry on down this road. Just enjoy being out on the Saturday afternoon. Maybe there's something special that finds us as we're driving along.
Welcome back. I'm on a bumble and I'm actually going to head towards Twin Dams, which is kind of on the southern side of Juma, because I know that there were tracks of a female leopard in this area kind of in front of me and to the right earlier on. So it's worth checking the waterhole that's closest to this area, because at some point everybody has to drink. And so I'm just taking it nice and slow along all the main cut lines through here to see if there are any tracks coming in and out. At the moment it seems to be mostly hyena tracks and a lot of impala tracks. But definitely still worth checking. Lots and lots of hyena tracks. Tammy Lee, you're 8 years old. The wind doesn't necessarily make animals more thirsty. Possibly maybe animals that are more dependent on water, like a hippo. If it was sitting out in the wind, it would dry it out faster, so it would need to go and get back into the water. But it's mostly the heat that will make an animal more thirsty. Also things like feeding, especially for the predators. If they eat a lot of red meat, then they're going to have to drink more. But in terms of thirst, it's definitely more the heat that they have to worry about than the wind. The wind will in fact probably cool them down quite a bit. So it might make them need to drink a little bit less. We're on a very bumpy road at the moment. And I'm actually heading towards a dip, so I'm hoping my signal sticks with me. What I'm really looking for right now would be birds alarming, impalas alarming, things like that. And then also the obvious signs of a predator, the whites on the back of the ears, the white on the tail, a flicking tail, anything like that. So that's pretty much what I'm scanning for as I go. And then also things like drag marks across the road if a leopard's killed something and pulled it to hoist it in a tree or hide it. And also tracks, fresh dung or scat, anything like that. Also a really good place to check is all the termite mounds. The predators really love to have a vantage point on top of a termite mound, particularly leopards. So it seems like Tristan and Rusty are having a few tech issues. They will be back just now. Don't stress too much, we are working on it. And they should be back with us soon. Quite a stunning view from up here. You can see all the way across to the other crest. I'll actually stop on the top here for you to have a look. So I'm approaching like a valley, and every time you've got a bit of a vantage point of height, it's always good to stop, have a scan around, because you can see to the other side, and there might be animals that are moving through the dips that you would then be able to hear or see signs of. So it's definitely worth a try. I'll stop on the edge of this ridge for you and you can have a look. Absolutely stunning property to be on. Right, as I get past this tree line, let's give it a bash. Alright, I can see a perfect spot to stop where there aren't too many trees right beside me to block your view. Right, let's give it a whirl. So what I would be looking for in an area like this, sorry, I was going to fix the camera in a second. So what I'm looking for is, obviously you can see quite far in every direction here. It is quite lucky that there's not that much greenery at this point, so I can see a lot further than I could have if everything had a thick amount of leaves on it, fresh green leaves. So directly ahead you can see the top of the ridge. And so what I would be looking for here would be things like movement. So if there's maybe a herd of impalas, any flashes of quick movement are particularly important. And then you can also see some of the larger game. So if there's a herd of buffalo, a herd of elephants, anything like that, you can kind of pinpoint from here where they would be. Which is very useful because you kind of want to make sure that you're not missing anything when you're higher up. And then at the same time that you're busy scanning, you would notice something like, for example, if dark mane was walking, you would notice the movement of his mane and the color of his mane in the light. If a leopard was walking, you would notice the color of the tail as it's walking through the bush. It would be very hard to spot if they're incredibly far away. But it's definitely worth having a look anytime you have the chance and you're a little bit higher up than the area that you're going to. It's also a really good opportunity for us to listen. So let's just spend a little bit of time listening in case there are any alarm calls, any unusual bird calls, anything like that that could indicate that there are things around, even oxpeckers calling to indicate some of the larger animals. It's actually quite beautiful with the afternoon sun peeking out now between the clouds. It's throwing some lovely light down onto the ground, and that helps because it'll pick up little bits of white and gold a lot easier when animals are moving. Even the mane of a hyena would look that beautiful red color in this light. Alright, so I don't see or hear anything obvious. It seems like maybe with the breeze, animals aren't moving so much right now. I think what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to keep going. Let's go and have a look around Twin Dams area. Just see if there is anything else along the way. Danny, the only other reserve that I've worked on outside of Ngala and Juma is I did my training at andBeyond Phinda in KwaZulu-Natal. That was just about a 6-week stint though. And then I also did a swap. So I went to Kirkman's camp, which is also here in the Sabi Sands. It's actually not very far from where we are. And spent a little bit of time there. Most of my time though was spent at andBeyond Ngala. And now Juma. Making sure to check every little game path, everything that kind of crosses over the road. Because that's where you'll notice, especially leopards using those tracks to walk. Yes, I have done bushwalks. I've done quite a number of them, in fact. It's definitely one of my favorite things to do. It's a whole different experience when you're out here on foot as opposed to in a vehicle. There's a lot of the smaller things that you would often miss on a safari in a vehicle. But also it just feels very different because you're kind of at the same level as the animals, and so you're a lot more aware, you're a lot more open to everything that comes along. And I actually studied at university, I studied animals and insects. And so for me, insects have always been particularly fascinating. So I get a great chance to have a look at those kinds of things as well when I'm on a walk. Oh, bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. Ooh, back on the flat road. This is actually where I saw Tlalamba yesterday. I know she has moved out of the area, but with tracks of another leopard around, you never know. Alright, so I'm gonna go and see what is happening at Twin Dams, and hopefully there might be something there for us.
My name is Nomfundo Ndlovu and I'm the Senior Project Manager for the WISA Schools and Youth Unit. I'm a qualified horticulturalist. I'm particularly passionate about supporting schools towards working through their sustainability journey and towards food sovereignty through our food gardening projects. A typical day in my work involves me overseeing our national projects and creating an enabling environment for schools to thrive and succeed in working towards self-reliance and sustainability, and really ensuring that no school gets left behind.
The scrap here collected a dry grass, put it next to the water hole as the hippo walks down during the warm of the day to drink the water. When the hippo arrives, he saw quite a very nice grass, an area not to resist to rest. And when the hippo went down to drink the water, and when he finished the water, he just lied down. And then, that was the opportunity of the scrappy. You know what? Today is my day to pay the revenge.
Alright, so I've just arrived at Twin Dams. I'm sitting on the dam wall, so I can see down on both sides. And just giving it a little bit of time to see if there's any movement, any sounds that we can pick up on. I'm hoping to hear maybe some special birds, some alarm calling. Anything that might indicate that there might be a predator close by. actually amazing that you can see how the clouds almost cleared just above the dam and everywhere else it looks cloudy. Donnie, I have not, but I wish that I had met Mulwati. Yeah, it would be absolutely incredible. I've heard so much about the incredible characters of Juma. I've watched them on WildEarth, but haven't met all of them yet. It's actually been very exciting for me. I've seen 5 different leopards while I've been here in the last few days, and that blows my mind. I think I've also been very lucky with the interactions that I have seen with the Talamati and dark mane and the Mbali male. My first time meeting all of them, and so much drama happens. Have a look. Can you see that those clouds are cleared just above the dam, it seems? Absolutely amazing. It might just be the angle of the camera or a trick of the eye, but it just looks incredible. Alright, so I'm definitely going to sit here for a little while longer just to see, now that it's heated up, if anything else comes down to drink. But I'm going to send you very excitedly back over to Amy at Ngala.
We have just been rumbling and making our way from the west towards the central part of Ngala. And we have just seen a very big elephant bull that's disappearing as I'm speaking into the bushes ahead of me. I'm thinking that he is heading towards the riverbed. So I think if we just take a left and loop around and actually head down into the riverbed, then we might actually see him come down and have a drink. So let's do that. I think it was heating up a little bit earlier. The sun was coming out. It was so nice and warm. And maybe this elephant bull as well is thinking that he would like some cool water to quench his thirst this afternoon. In this area that we see elephants. Maggie, that is a good question. And yes, most definitely they can smell water. But it's not only that they can smell where water is, they also know from experience, I suppose you could say, where water is in an area. You know, they live long lives of around 60 years, and you can imagine how much knowledge and experience that gives them to know that at this time of year in winter, where water dries up, and I mean, even if you look ahead of us at the riverbed, no water in sight, but they know that underneath here there is water that's running. And they can most definitely sniff it out, smell it. But also from experience, like I was saying, and knowing that that water is available to them, just like the water holes that we have on Ngala, knowing where they are and being able to come back to those areas over and over again, knowing that that's where they can find the water they're looking for. So we've headed down into the riverbed now, as you can see, and we're going to carry on, see if perhaps, I think it's just a little bit further on, if we can see from the right-hand side this elephant bull that looked like he was going to be making his way down this way. Oh, I see an elephant on the right. Let's see if we can have a look. Just up on the bank. There we go. Now, I'm not actually sure if this is the same elephant that we had. I seem to think it may not be, just because of how close it was to where we were. I was also just looking at the riverbed now, and there's some tracks that seem to be heading up towards that way. So I think this elephant in particular may have had a drink earlier and is headed up. Benson. I think it was Benson. Both trunk and feet. Elephants dig for water in the riverbed, and I've actually seen them doing it. And they use both their foot and their trunk at the same time. So what they'll do is they sort of use their front foot to kick the sand away, and it gets to a point where their foot can't do it, make it too much deeper, and then their trunk comes in and like a little scoop. They use the tip of their trunk to scoop that sand out, and sometimes even there's water and sand mixed together, and until there's enough sand gone, then the nice pure clean water bubbles up and they're able to drink that. So both their feet and their trunk work together to be able to make the hole in the ground where they find their water. Looks like this elephant has some dirty tusks. He might have been splashing around in some mud earlier today, just trying to keep himself cool. If you have a look at his right ear on our left-hand side, you can also see a little bit of a tear there at the bottom, it looks like. So definitely not a young elephant. I think he has some good years behind him. Also look at the top of his head. You can see his temples just above his eyes, quite sunken in there on the forehead as well. Oh, and look at his trunk, just getting the leaves, using it to wrap around that branch and pull down. I think elephant trunks are incredible. I wish I had one. Just see that flick of the tail, swatting away anything that's bothering him. Well, Nazreen, it's difficult to say. if elephants have a particularly favorite plant. They do seem to prefer certain ones to others. I know that there's a plant called elephant's pudding just because elephants enjoy it so much, and they definitely like to eat thorn trees or acacias that have a sweeter bark, also marula. They tend to avoid plants that have higher tannins that are a little bit more bitter. So they maybe don't have one favorite, but they do have some that they prefer over others. Well, it looks like this elephant is moving off a little bit further into the bush there. So I think we're going to carry on along the riverbed and see if we can find the other elephant bull that was making its way down. We're going to carry on here down the Timbavati River, one of my favorite places on the whole of the reserve, and see if we can find this elephant.
If you are a Wild Earth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
What an incredible opportunity to win an encounter like that, up close with those animals on foot. It's definitely one of the best things about the bush is being able to be on foot. So I am incredibly envious of that prize. Alright, so I've just arrived at Treehouse Dam, and we've got a new resident that was not here yesterday. Very, very interesting to see. We have now got a hippo. You can see the sun is blaring. It's found a gap in between all the clouds. I don't know where this hippo came from. Definitely was not here this morning or yesterday. But because they are territorial, you'll probably find this hippo is from somewhere close by, unless there's been an overthrow in dominance. So what would happen with an overthrow in dominance for a hippo like this one? He looks very relaxed about the topic, but in reality, it actually can be quite aggressive and messy. The males are incredibly territorial over their waterhole and over their females, and when water starts drying up, then what ends up happening is they will have to start fighting for the water that's left. And the females will go to wherever there's water, so it's very important that you keep your waterhole as your own. And so you might find he might have been in another waterhole close by and maybe overthrown. And that's why we have now got a hippo at Treehouse Dam. Could also have been less dramatic than that. My mom's always called me a drama queen, so maybe I'm just seeing the the most dramatic option. It could just be that this hippo was out feeding because it was overcast, cold and windy. No real need to hide from the sun, and then the sun came out and it needed to cool off, and there happens to be an empty waterhole. Hippo's definitely not too perturbed about much at the moment. What I can see very beautifully in this light though is the tiny little fringe of hairs on its ears. They're kind of glowing in the light because the light is reflecting off the water behind it. You can just see the little fringe of hairs there. Beautiful bird calls at the moment, some Birchall starlings, some grey go-away birds. I was wondering when the nostrils were going to pop up for a breath. So what you might find is happening here as well, the fact that the hippo's now put its eyes back underwater too, just like when we arrived, is that this is quite a shallow dam. So when it's flat on the bottom, maybe only the top of the head and the ears stick out, but it's still trying to cover as much as it can. But I think I'm going to spend another minute or two here, just see if anything does come down and see if this hippo makes any movements.
We've decided to stick with this elephant for a little bit longer, got a different position. So let's just sit and enjoy watching him feed and also listening to the sounds of the Timbavati River.
are back. Unfortunately, we've had a little tech issue, Morgan and I. Morgan's trying to sabotage the equipment so that he could just jump off the car and get away from me. But we managed to fix it and tie him down as well, so everything's all right. He tried to blow up Rusty again. How many cars have you tried to blow up this week?
Last time it was Wendy.
Wendy last time, oh well, anyway. None of this again nonsense. Anyway, with the big bull Eddie, this guy's been hanging around for the last 2 days with a couple of his cronies. We've got beautiful, beautiful big tusks, except that they are very dirty. It looks like it's kind of been shoved into mud and deck staining, so we need to clean those bad boys. You can see he's just dismantling a marula branch at the moment. He actually reached up and pulled it down, so I'm hoping once he's finished with these ones that he'll actually start to do it again, and lift his head up and kind of grab them. It's amazing how high these guys can reach when they want to. It's incredible how tall they actually are, or how long those trunks reach. I don't know if you can hear him crunching on the actual branch. Nice, so you guys can hear him crunching. I absolutely love spending time with big elephant bulls. There's something special about being in the company of these guys. They have so much atmosphere and so much presence about them. And when you sit here and you actually spend time with them, you realize just how magnificent they actually are and how insignificant we are in comparison to their size. If it wasn't for the fact that we have brains and built cars and things like that, being able to be this close to wild elephants would be near impossible. Although there are parts of this world where it is possible. So, you know, if you go to a place like Mane Pools, they've become so used to the people walking around that they actually don't really worry too much. And you can sit where I'm sitting right now, which is not very far at all. Probably, what do you reckon, 10 meters, 15 meters, and you sit under a tree and they come up to these anna trees and they feed on the pods, and they're actually very chilled about it. But it's obviously got to be done with people that know what they're doing, and always got to be a bit careful. But cars really do allow us to view elephants a lot safer than if we weren't. It's interesting watching him dismantle this little branch that he broke. It's like he's after the thicker stuff only. He doesn't really want the small stuff. The guy's using his trunk. Isn't that cool? So much experience. He's obviously worked out that his trunk is so heavy and so big that he can easily break the branches and do what he needs to do in order to get it without having to actually use his feet or his tusks or anything like that. It's awesome. So boys. Nice to see a bit of sunshine as well. You might have heard some brown-headed parrots flying past too. Patty asking what is that lump on his throat? I don't see a lump, I just see his neck and the loose skin around it. Maybe it's just the angle that it looks like a lump, but it's just the neck skin as it comes down and joins towards his chest. It's just hanging down a little bit. In these big bull elephants, they often have this like skin that just droops a little bit in around that chest area, so it's quite common to see early males with it. If you look at the one on the right, he's also got it. Not quite as pronounced, but it is also there. I love how gentle they are when they're feeding like this. Looks like they don't have a care in the world. You see how this one's trying to sneak his trunk in to get to where that branch is. And I was really saying that these are the longest tusks you've ever seen. That's amazing because, you know, obviously this is big for our area. They're not big in terms of worldwide or even Kruger standards. In fact, in terms of the Kruger Park, these are pretty average sized tusks. I mean, they maybe a little bit above average. Let's be fair. Big tusks are the ones that are almost to the ground and will probably be twice the thickness of this particular individual. So while these are big, they're not monstrous. The big tuskers of the world, which are essentially the super tuskers, they over 100 pounds on each tusk. So you can imagine how big those tusks are. This guy has still got a long way to go to even remotely reach that. The thing is, though, he doesn't look like an old elephant. He doesn't have hugely sunken temples or any sort of body mass issues. And his tusks actually look bigger than they are because he's not the biggest bodied elephant. If you actually compare him to the one on the right, even though there's a bit of a slope, the one on the right is actually not, is actually taller. So if you had those tusks on a bigger bodied elephant, they wouldn't appear as large and as sort of impressive as they do on him. It's just because of his size that they appear that much better. His left tusk is quite impressive, but the right one is actually not massive. But like I say, when you see those big super tuskers, you realize how big tusks can get. It's quite something to see a 100-pound tusk. There is one that is moving around in sort of north of us, in an area called Avoca, Birmingham, Sandringham, those game farms to the north of us. And then Inzilwini on Pridelands has probably got a much bigger set than these even. While his tusks are probably not 100 pounds, they are quite large. So if you watch Pridelands enough, I'm sure Inzilwini will pop up at some point. He's a beautiful elephant with big, large tusks as well. So. Don't you love the little Birchall starling also just milling about at the bottom of these two massive beasts. Looks pretty in the sunshine this afternoon. His eyes are closed. He's enjoying his marula branch so much his eyes are even closed and he's just chomping away. Strange though, we don't typically see a lot of bull elephants at this time of the year. Normally this is kind of time where we see herds coming down to the waterholes. The bulls generally come through our area in February, so January, February, March. That's when we typically see a lot of bull elephants. And that's due to the marulas being in fruit. This time of the year, there's not a huge amount. I was wondering why there's so many birds alarm calling. Sorry. Go away birds alarm calling all around us here. It must be the Wahlbergs are flying. So yeah, normally the bull elephants at this time of the year are not hugely here, but this particular group has been hanging around for a few days and it seems like a number of young bulls that I've seen in the last little bit. Morgan, do you see a bird of prey anyway? The go-away birds are upset by something. Maybe it's a slender mongoose or something. Alright, so we're going to carry on, probably leave these guys. I have a report that Mareep is around Chitwa, so we're going to head in that direction and see if maybe we can find him.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
It's either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go.
Delivering 6 hours of HD wildlife content live every day is no small feat. It's a massive team effort, and we all rely on one another. Cam ops have a bit of work to do in the morning, up nice and early, get all the checks out of the way, and make sure we're ready to go live. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun.
Well, we are being absolutely treated this afternoon by this elephant bull. We have found the one we were looking for. We carried on along the river. Oh, look at that. Look what he's doing with his trunk. Wow. That is amazing. And watched him cross all the way from the other bank. He's come up and has started to feed here on this young jackalberry. Definitely enjoying the new shoots that are coming out, the branches. Just shows even that it took no effort at all to break over that branch. It was just a little twist of the trunk and it was down and much more easier for him to feed off. He has done a whole display for us while we've been sitting here using his trunk to take off the leaves and toss them into his mouth. It looks as though he may be moving a little bit further up the bank. Oh, you can just see the top of his trunk there, also pulling over that entire tree. Wow. That is incredible to watch. We've just had a little bit of a sound there by this elephant. It may have been a burp. Just go again with that question, please, Jared. Well, Enzo, that is a very good question. How do elephants clean their tusks? Well, unlike you and me who use a toothbrush, I'm sure you're wondering, elephants must have a really big toothbrush if they were going to clean their teeth, don't you think? But no, elephants don't have toothbrushes. They rely on drinking water. There's another one that's just come out on the left there. And using water, that's how they would clean it. Also, eating bark and that sort of thing tends to rub against their teeth and that, but their tusks in particular, I think just from going to drink, splashing water on themselves, that's what would clean them. But they can get dirty very easily, just like they can get clean, they can also get dirty, full of mud when they go down to waterholes. But I think maybe we should think about designing a toothbrush for an elephant. It would have to be very big, Enzo. How beautiful is that? Oh, just using its trunk there. Now it's moved from the tree to the grass. Oh, and it's lifting it up, giving us a little bit of a smell there. Look at that. And it's back to the leaves. Just look at it stretching out like that and tossing in those leaves into its mouth. Well, from elephants feeding on the banks of the riverbed to some elephants at a waterhole, off you go to Tessa.
It is certainly an elephant afternoon this afternoon. I'm sitting at Vuyatela Dam with a family of elephants that's walking along the waterhole's edge. There seem to be quite a few elephants in this area. Hopefully the rest of the herd decides to follow, but this looks like a small fraction of the herd. A big female in the front, a teenage male, and a very young male calf at the back. So they haven't actually stopped to drink yet. I don't know if she's just going to a more favorable spot that she feels is better, or if she's actually just going to move off into the thickets at the top end of the dam where there might be a bit more greenery. But lovely to watch them walking. Smelling the air a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if she's smelling dark mane, because this is where he was last night. Such big steps. You can see how easily an elephant can cover kilometers in a day. Maybe she just wants to come around the dam to the side to rejoin the family. Yeah, I think she's actually going to come up the bank there. Jeanette, elephants are the main animals that would dig for water. The other animals that you would see drinking out of dug-out holes would actually be using the holes that have been dug by the elephants to access the same water. I'm not sure which other animals actually would, to be honest. None of them are really strong enough. But I'll definitely find out. If there are any others, I'll let you know. Yeah, I think she just wanted to come around to this side of the dam, because the rest of the family is actually behind me. She is a beautiful old cow. She's definitely been walking in the water. It might have just been now when she crossed at the top end of the dam. Maybe she hit some of the water. You can see it's made her look like she's wearing dark socks. How interesting that she's drinking from the small pan instead of the big dam. You can hear some elephants in the background that are breaking branches. Actually not often that you would see elephants avoid a big dam and drink from a smaller pan. Last little sip and then catch up with Mom. I love how that water is still dripping from the edge of the trunk. So I might have to reposition just now. They are moving very fast. My apologies, that's a female calf walking in behind Mum. And they have found the big tuskers. Right, so the smaller pan that they were drinking from is actually the pump pan that leads into Vuyatela Dam, so cleaner water is definitely preferable. So that would explain why they are drinking from this pan. Incredible how he's breaking all the smaller branches off so he has better access to the main section where he can strip the bark off. Oh, look at the elephant stretching up in the background. Trying to get to the top branches of that marula tree. I wonder what gave him a fright. I agree, I could watch elephants all day long. There's always something happening. It's incredible to see what they do and how strong they are. And just the sounds of that chewing is unbelievable. We are having incredible luck on elephants this afternoon. Atlanta, your best bet for seeing big tuskers is definitely in the Kruger National Park. I would say there are a decent amount of them quite far north in the Kruger National Park. But I mean, these ones here on their own are fairly big tuskers as well. So I would say anywhere within the general area of the Kruger National Park would be your best bet. The biggest tuskers that I've seen have definitely been in the far north. Oh, look at him. He's just pushing the other one out the way a little bit. So it's actually very important for those younger calves to have interactions with big bulls around. There's a different presence or a different feel when you're with a big bull like that, and to have quite a few around is a very important learning experience. You can imagine they're picking up on different sounds and scents, different behaviors as well, and it will also affect the way the females behave. So I'm definitely going to soak in this interaction a little bit more, and we'll just see what happens as the afternoon goes on.
We have carried on along the river this afternoon and come across a beautiful lilac-breasted roller just catching the afternoon sun. Let's just sit and have a look at these colors. If we're lucky, we may actually even see it fly down. Just a little while ago it did, and catch something small in the sand and go back and perch itself on that tree. Oh, it's just turned its head. You can see the sunlight catching those colors, that sort of iridescent blue glow at the tail. Just on the top of the head, you can see that turquoise color and really that lilac purple breast. Don't think I've ever seen a lilac-breasted roller quite so beautiful as this one. The way the sunlight is just making those colors almost glow on this little bird. Just moving its head every now and again, listening, looking. Possibly any sort of movement down in the sand, that little insect maybe that it could fly down and catch. So lovely to spend some time with these birds. Often we see them so much that we don't stop and look, but so lovely to take a moment and just appreciate them.
We've just gotten Mareep's now. It looked like he just killed something. I can't see yet what it is. I'm trying to get into a better position where I can find him again. I saw him from a distance kind of walking through, but it looked like he had something in his mouth. Where's he go? Oh, no. I'm just trying to get a visual of him. Morgan, you see him? Somewhere here on our left. going to get through there, Morgan. Alright, where is he now? He's going up, so he's going up on the other side towards some vehicles. From here, he's caught himself a scrub hare. Is what he's managed to catch. I'm sorry, there's vehicles in the background, everybody. Well done, boy. Is that the first thing we've seen him actually kill? I'm not sure. Have we seen him kill? Oh no, we've seen him kill guinea fowls.
And that monitor.
And the monitor, yes, you're right. Morgan, how could we forget? You see, this is why you're around.
Might not know how to read.
You might not know how to read, but you've got a memory, exactly. Well done. All right, now we've got to get back out of all of this and around the other side. He's crossed the wrong way for us, but it's fine. We'll figure it out and we'll find him. Well, that's exciting. Very, very cool. We'll keep coming. All right, I'm going to try and catch up with him and find him again. Hopefully, we'll pick him up on the other side. In the meantime, let's send you across to Tess, who's on the move.
Very exciting that Tristan has found Mareep. Hopefully he gets to find him again. But while he is doing that, we have happened upon Dark Mane, sleeping very peacefully on top of a termite mound. Apologies, Wendy's old. That is actually quite the spot to be in. And you can really see a lot of detail on his paw in particular, because it's not often you get to see that angle of a lion's paw so clearly. I think he heard me. So he's definitely in a nice, comfortable spot. I think he was up on this termite mound to try and cool off in the breeze, but also just to have a little bit of a vantage point. And it's amazing. Driving up, it was actually Mpho who spotted him. He's so well camouflaged. Now, unbelievably, I'm maybe 200 meters from where the elephants are that we were just with. And I don't think they know that he's here, because they weren't behaving in an odd way as though there was a predator around. But it does help that the wind is currently blowing from the dam where the elephants are to here, which is a little bit further north. All right, while we sit with our sleepy lion, I'm going to send you over to Tristan, who has Mareeps.
Well, while Tess is with Dark Mane doing what he does best, Mareeps is doing what he does best, which is entertaining people. You can see him proudly carrying his scrub here. He's not going to wait for Mom this time. Unfortunately, he's going to cross behind a car, so let me go around so I can catch him on the other side of the car. I'm hoping he's going to go. There comes Hyena. He's going to run up a tree. Look how quickly he's running. That's crazy. Try to keep up with him. Watch out, Morgan. Did he get up? He did, up the most ridiculous tree. This is where Rusty is the best car for this. Why are you laughing, Morgan? His tree is ridiculous. Look. Morgan, if you were to climb a tree, that's how it would look.
Maybe that tree, I guess.
There's nothing about that tree that looks comfortable. And he ran past such a nice one right there. Silly boy.
Tormenting hyenas came back.
Yeah, the hyenas, all the times he's been taunting hyenas, they've just run after him. So he's got himself into a ridiculous position now. He's not going to be able to stay up there. You can see how he's trying to hold himself up. How he's going to get down is the next interesting question. What he might do is come down and then try and run to the nearest poplar tree and then get up. But I don't know if you saw how fast this cat can move. Insane speed. You silly boy. The tail looks comfortable, at least. And he managed to keep his kill, which is a good thing. The nearest nice trees are like straight in the line that he's looking at the moment. So let's see. I think he's going to try come down. This should be highly entertaining. Nothing about that was graceful. Shame, boy, I shouldn't be laughing at you, but why do you get yourself into the most ridiculous spots? You see, he's going to trot to the nearest big tree. Let's go down and try and catch up. Mareeps. But at least he went up a tree and he kept his kill. That's better than not, I suppose. But that was quite possibly the most ridiculous thing I've seen in a long time. He's now running towards these trees here. He's going to go up. Watch, there you go, Morgan. There you go, up onto a proper tree. Well done, boy. Alright, let's get in there. Sorry, I stopped to try and see if we could get him properly coming up. But he's made it onto his tree now. Now he'll be absolutely fine. You won't have to worry about anything. Try and see where he's going to go from here. Just stop there for now. The drongos are not happy. Their marula that they were so nicely perched on has been completely ruined by a scrub hare killing leopard. They'll eventually leave him alone. Isn't that cool though? With an epic backdrop of the sun starting to set through the clouds. This cat is just entertainment personified. Constantly finding ways to entertain all of us. Alright, let's see what he does. Hopefully he doesn't drop it now. I want to just see which way he's going to go. There's a nice branch to the top right of where he is that he might go and lie on. It will probably be the most comfortable branch for him. And you'll see it just on the top right of the screen there. It's kind of bows in perfect little half moon shape for him to sit on. And look at his tail. You see how it's getting irritated with the drongo shouting at him. Little tail is busy. Well, it's a big welcome back to him onto Chitwa, and certainly nice to have him back because obviously we have much better signal on Chitwa than we do on Torchwood. So nice to have him this side where we can enjoy his antics once more. Weirdly, his mom crossed into Torchwood this morning, so I don't know if they're starting to separate, and you can see now he's pretty self-sufficient. If he's killing things like scrub hares, he'll be absolutely fine. Scrub hares require a certain amount of finesse and tactics because they are very, very quick. So he needs to be pretty fast himself to catch them, and his mom is very, very good at catching scrub hares. So he probably runs in the genetic. But well done, boy. I know it's never an easy thing to do. Morgan, do you want me to reposition so we get his face? Okay. You know, for you, I'll do everything because you're such a nice guy, Morgan. No, it's my absolute pleasure. Roaming Rhino, this cat is hilarious. I feel like Morgan and I have also been hilarious today. Have we not, Morgan? Yeah. So entertaining tonight, joking. But we can't compete with Mareeps. He's on a whole nother level of entertaining. All over the place, this cat. I'm just going to try and... You alright here, Morgan? Shame. For those of you that don't like death and destruction, then probably not a good time to look. The poor bunny is obviously being held firmly. It actually was still kicking it just before that hyena chased him. So, like I say, if you are a bit squeamish and you're a bit sensitive to kills, then probably now is a good time to look away. Drongo is irritating him immensely. Do you see, he didn't grab it by the head, he actually grabbed it by the chest, which is interesting. Where are you going to end up sitting, boy? That's not a nice place where he is now. You can also see he's just trying to catch his breath. You look how heavily he's breathing after the chaos that just erupted. It's going to take him a bit of time just to come right, and then you'll find he'll eventually settle down and feed where he wants to feed and get himself into a good position. Still think that branch on the left there is going to be the one he's going to go onto. Might come our way, actually. No, that's not going to work, boy. Maybe there. Alright, let's go forward a bit, Morgan. So we'll just try and get into a nice little gap here where Morgan can shoot from. There we go. That's a little bit better, I think. But we'll be patient and sit with him and watch him as he watches the drongos and see if there's any more antics that he's going to get up to.
I have a degree in environmental planning and development. My passion is outdoor classrooms. We are not only grooming the environmentalists of tomorrow, but tomorrow's leaders as well. My long-term goal is for the people of South Africa to learn how to live sustainably, to be able to look after themselves and the environment. So I hope that through environmental education, we are able to get that message to the future generation of South Africa so that they start now and can continue that good practice in the future. Environmental education is critical so that people can live sustainably in the future. That is my long-term goal.
I think sometimes you need just to listen. So it's a kind of taking out all that other spirit and bring back wilderness and healthy. Bushwalk and trek and sign. I'm sure I'm good at that. I spend most of my time on the ground since I was a young boy, so I think I'm good with that. Actually, I'm not much nervous of any category. Just take it as it is. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on what the judges are looking at. So chances are 50-50 on my side. I'm not... Obviously, when you go for a competition, you say you win.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, Mareep is now repositioned again, so I'm just going to move us a little bit just so that we're not on top of others and disturbing them with the amount of talking that we do. How's that, Morgan? Okay. There we go. like I say, it's sometimes when we're close to other cards, it's not as pleasant for them because we do talk a little bit. But as you can see, he's now got himself into a good spot where he can actually settle and have a good feed. He'll be way out of the way of hyenas. He won't have to worry about them, and he can finish his scrub hare in peace. The only thing that's still giving him a hard time is his fork-tailed drongo, but they'll eventually lose interest in him as well and leave him alone and head off and go and do their own thing. You'll find they'll eventually get to the point where they tire of his nonsense and they'll just go and do whatever they feel like doing. Here comes hyena now, coming into the scene. Looks like it's got a little wound on its bottom. Oh, that looks quite sore. It's been bitten by somebody else, but probably another hyena more than anything else. Look at sniffing. Ever hopeful. I'm afraid, though, there's not much chance. Where he is now and the way he's got his paw on that kill, it's not going to go anywhere. I'm pretty sure for now he's okay and going to have a good meal. But well done, boy. It's good to see him successful with his hunts and finding food on his own. He's going to need it because the time with Mom, while it may still last a little bit longer, is going to get less and less and less, and his ability to survive is going to rely heavily on him being able to feed himself. And so if he can start catching things on his own regularly, then he's going to be absolutely fine in life. And it always starts like this, you know, young animals, well, young leopards will start off with things like birds and lizards and the likes, and then they graduate to scrub hares, and eventually then it starts to become like duiker, Steenbok, impalas, and then they'll even get up, you know, big males like he'll be. Eventually one day we'll get up to warthogs and young kudu and waterbuck and those kinds of things that are a lot larger. I mean, we know he's already follows elephants and buffalo around, so who knows, sky's the limit for our young lad. He certainly doesn't mind having a crack at the bigger animals. Lucky 7, Morgan. H is for hilarious, is a new one. Do you know how to spell hilarious?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well done. As long as you know how to spell it, then we're all good. I was a bit worried there for a second that maybe you didn't know how to spell hilarious.
I'll try and find it in the dictionary later.
In the dictionary? Oh yes, we said we were going to get you a dictionary, so you should be fine once you have that. But there we go. I mean, we've had a whole bunch of things happen today that we can teach Morgan. And me, you're so right, Morgan. You've been a wealth of information this afternoon. How I would live without you, I'm not quite sure. Tomorrow's going to be a long day without you.
Because you also got that great diagram.
I did get a good diagram about elephant anatomy. Thank you very much, Vicky, for that. Elise, actually, is your name, but much appreciated. And in typical leopard fashion, we're now going to sleep on our kill. So head over the kill and use it as a pillow. You see, pillows. We were talking about it this morning. There we go. Cats are all meat pillow fans. I wonder if it's actually comfortable to lie on. And probably not, because you're going to get fur all over you. And it's also very, very, very macabre to lie on a piece of meat. But the cats all seem to absolutely love it. He looks so disinterested now in life. He's like, you know, I've entertained all of you. What more do you want from me? Now, I believe our hyena has been identified as Ndebele. I honestly cannot say the last time I saw Ndebele. The hyenas are of that age group and below are all mystery to me because I've spent so little time with them, even at the den and, you know, as they've gotten bigger, their spot patterns are non-existent in my brain. I try and sometimes when I get here, I try and learn each one again, and without seeing them regularly, it really is difficult. You know, like I say, I'm getting old and my brain is little, so there's only so much I can fit in it. And the leopards and lions occupy a fair amount of space in it, so, you know, things like hyenas are a little trickier. pretty cool now. Everyone's left us alone, so we have him all to ourselves, which is very, very cool. It's getting cold, Morgan. I'm going to put on my jacket. I do apologize, everybody. You're about to hear some rustling. It is just that it has gotten windy again, and so it's cold. All right, we'll sit with him for the remainder of our drive, see what he gets up to. No doubt there'll be something else that will happen with him, so we'll just be patient and see how we go.
So we are still here in the Timbavati River and have found some more elephants. Definitely seems like it is a elephant afternoon here at andBeyond in Ngala. Earlier I was asked the question about elephants in water and the way they dig, and actually we've just been watching these two elephants in the riverbed doing exactly that, using their foot back and forth. There, he just used it, the one on the right. And then their trunk as well, you can see he's actually not drinking that water. Just watch how he puts it down, and then every now and again he's going to splash out some sand mixed with that water to the side. And so he's dug the hole deep enough now that with his foot that the water is coming up, but it's still a bit dirty, still a bit sandy. So he's using his trunk to scoop that water out that still has the sand on, and then he'll wait until he's got that nice clear clean water that he'll then suck up in his trunk and put into his mouth. There we go. It looks like he's, oh, you see, there we go, he just splashed it out. So not quite what this elephant is looking for just yet. Oh, you can see he's just laid his trunk on the bank. What is he doing? Looks like he's trying to get some sand. Look at, you see how his trunk is sort of moving around. I think he was maybe thinking of actually splashing that on himself, but changed his mind. But just think how far down that trunk actually is into that hole to get the water. You may see it come up just now. You'll see those muscles contract in the trunk as he's going to pull it up. Right now they're quite extended. So he's either still digging in there with his trunk, or, oh, there we go. Look how it's gotten a lot shorter. There, oh, still not happy. Still tossing it out to the side. Not quite good enough to put into his mouth just yet. Well, Peter Pan, that is a good question. Do elephants ever fight over places to drink? It's not something that I've seen with regards to a fight becoming physical between elephants. Oh, to dig. Okay. No, I haven't seen that happen. I mean, I can't be sure that it has never happened that two elephants have gotten into a squabble over where they're deciding to dig, but actually they're helping each other, because the one will often dig, and just like these two have dug in two different places quite happily side by side, and the one will often move into the next one's hole, or there'll be a herd together, and they'll move from one water little spot where they've dug to the next. So no, I haven't seen them sort of fight over places to dig. They sort of have their spots that they know in the riverbed, and the elephant herds generally come to those same spots and dig for the water. But it's possible. I mean, I suppose in any sort of family herd, there may be one or two that want to dig in the same place, and then they have to push each other off. But I think we are going to stay with these elephants, simply because, as well, they are in our path. And quite honestly, there's nothing better I'd rather do on a Saturday afternoon than sit in the Timbavati River, having two beautiful elephant bulls drinking in front of me.
Welcome back to a still very sleepy, dark mane on a termite mound. So all he's really done is stretch a little bit, move his head every now and then go straight back to sleep. In fact, he's sleeping so deeply you can see part of his mouth is open, and you can even glimpse a tooth. Oh, he's waking up. Big stretch. The life of a male lion when you can relax is not like anything else. So much sleeping gets done during the day. I would absolutely love to hear him roaring later on if he does decide to wake up. But for now, I think he's just enjoying that breeze blowing his mane backwards while he's sleeping. He's got a lot of scarring. Maybe if we're lucky, he'll give us a little bit of a big yawn just now. Be able to see all those teeth and that pink tongue very clearly. And we're up.
Well, for some reason now he wants to come down again. I don't know what it is, but he's decided that he doesn't like the tree. I think it's too many drongos shouting at him. He wants to find a better one. So let's see where he goes. He might come flopping down and then to the next one, or he might decide on a different branch. I think he's going to come down. What do you want to do, boy? No, you can't come down backwards. No, that's that. It doesn't work. You have to come down. Yes, there we go. Better. Now where are you going to go? Yes, if a hyena comes running now, he's going to go straight back up. But where do you want to go, boy? That tree over there is nice. Go back to the tree behind you. Yeah, there we go. Now you're going the right way. He's looking for one that he's not getting shouted at by birds, and where he can actually hoist it with a bit more comfort. So, let's just turn around. I don't know where he wants to go. There's no trees this way. He needed to go down the slope a little bit. Maybe he's spotted something that he wants to go and use. But I'm pretty sure it's the drongos that are annoying him. Yeah, enough to come down that tree. That tree was just an emergency tree because he knew the hyenas were around. Such an epic cat, this. I think Vic the Viking, is I hear that right? Vic the Viking? I think I need a hearing aid, but I'm getting old. Yeah. But anyway, something Viking. You're asking if there's any parts of the hair he won't eat. Yes, the hair. So not the hair as in animal hair, but hair as in the stuff on your head. He won't eat the fur. There we go, that's a better word. Morgan, don't even. So yeah, I won't eat the fur, but otherwise everything else will go down. Well, and when I say don't eat the fur, I mean he'll pluck as much as he can off it, but some of it will still go down. It's just the fur wastes space in his body, and it's got no real nutrient value and difficult to digest, so it doesn't really like eating that. Sorry?
Scrub hair chart.
Scrub hair chart next. Oh, really? Okay. Let's see how this is. As they say, if you giveth, you must taketh. You can also have that if you would like. Most welcome. I know how you've been dying for a blade of grass in your life. Where are you taking us, boy? We are going deep in this block now for no real reason. We've walked past multiple different trees. He's almost like he's going back to Torchwood. Yeah, he's going to go share it with his mom. It's reverse roles that have taken place. You can actually see where he bit on the scrub hair in order to kill it. Right around the chest cavity. He must have punctured its heart or its lungs. It'd be so nice to be a leopard and just walk on a game path without having to worry too much about the road that you've got to take and where you've got to go. There's a nice tree coming up there, nice big marula, so maybe that will be the one that he'll use. Or this fallen over marula. Let's see which one he decides. Lots of nice trees here for him. And given there's no hyena following him at the moment, he can take it easy. This marula might be the one. Let's see. No. I mean, that'll be the most comfortable, but it's not going to really be out the way of hyenas, I don't think. But he's thinking about it, isn't he? Maybe not. Or not. Now we're going back again. I don't think he actually knows where he wants to go. Samson, no, I don't think so. I mean, if Mom arrived, she might bully him off it, but it wouldn't be him taking it back to her. He's just looking for a spot where he can eat it in peace away from hyenas, and a comfortable place at that. So, you know, his ability to eat on that tree was a little bit compromised, and so I suspect you're going to find that he is going to rather try and find a more comfortable tree. But he's heading straight back to Torchwood. We're not far from Torchwood now at all. And there's no real nice tree here that I would use if I was a leopard. I would be a lot more circumspect. In this area then. I don't know, he's going back down towards the drainage, unfortunately. He's gone past a few really nice trees that would have worked quite well for him, but I don't know, maybe he just doesn't feel comfortable in this section. Maybe he feels as if he goes a little bit further north, he's going to be a lot safer and a lot less likely to bump into others. We know that he's had a few altercations with Shasha and Semba right down below where we are now. So that maybe is why his experience is telling him to go further to the north. Alright, now apparently there's some sort of circus act going on, because I've been told to send you across to Tess, who's on Dark Mane.
Alright, so I'm sitting with a slightly repositioned Dark Mane. He had a bit of a stretch. He got up when he heard the elephants that are down in the riverbed, and then promptly went back to sleep in a slightly different position. So the wind has definitely died down a little bit. And so I think that's also why he's managed to reposition slightly. He's not as exposed as he was. You can still see there is quite a breeze. His mane is blowing, but not nearly as strong as it was. So I'm waiting in extreme anticipation for him to wake up just now and hopefully give us a roar. So he was actually calling consistently throughout the night last night. And so I'm hoping that he does it again tonight. I'm definitely going to wait here until the sun goes down to see what he decides to do.
If you are a Wild Earth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021. And you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. Wild Earth Explorers, it's in your nature.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we'd normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth Daily.
Well, after all of that, he's decided to eat it on the ground. So we've gone past trees, we've gone up trees, down trees, and now we're just going to eat comfortably on the edge of the road. Why not? I suppose if you're the boss of the game, you get to do that. And get to do whatever you feel like. So yeah, we're going to see what happens. Maybe a hyena will find him again. I don't know if they will, because we're on the road, we're not in the bush, and we're not off-roading, so... And the likelihood is that he'll be able to feed. The problem is he does make noise when he feeds. The crunching of bones and that kind of stuff will attract the attention at some point. Luckily, it's such a small kill that even if hyenas come, he can run pretty full speed away from them and towards some semblance of tree that he can get up. As we saw just now, he's not afraid to go up very small trees. As long as it's just high enough to keep out of the way of hyena, he's happy. So... I think he'll be all right. I think he'll manage to get the whole kill down. For a leopard of his size, this is not a monster meal, but it's also not a bad meal. For a big male leopard, this is nothing. But for a young male like this, it certainly will fill that tummy and keep him well fed. And if you look at Mareep's, whenever we see him, he's very seldom does he look skinny, and that's probably because he does a lot of this kind of thing. We just don't know about it because a lot of it will be at night, and small meals like an odd franklin or guinea fowl or scrub hare, those things get eaten pretty quickly, and then he's able to kind of move on. So that's why I'm sure we see him fairly full pretty regularly. I don't think I've ever seen him at the point where I'm like, oh, he really needs a meal. And that's probably testament to his mother too. She's pretty good with catching things like scrub hares and duiker and keeping him well fed. It's always cool to see when they get to this kind of age where they're starting to feed themselves, because then they've crossed one of the bigger boundaries and hurdles in life. Once they're able to look after themselves from a food point of view, then it's just about staying out of the way of the big males until they're big enough to challenge themselves, and then out of the way of lions too. The rest is, he's overcome most of the other big problems, which is being able to climb and trying to hunt for yourself, learning that hyenas are not friends, all those kinds of things. So he should be good and set now to start living life on his own. And also we know he spends so much time without Tundi anyway, so he's pretty independent from quite an early age, this cat. See how he'll feed a little bit, and he'll stop and he'll turn and he'll look around just to make sure that he doesn't attract too much attention to himself. He'll make sure he goes back to feeding. All right, I'm gonna stay with him. Might as well, like I say, to see out the drive with him, and then in the meantime, let's send you across to Amy with some ellies that are digging for water.
We are still with these elephant bulls in the riverbed. They just slowly... One actually walked away and has come back and joined the other one. A lot smaller, the one in front compared to the one behind. I saw him use his trunk and just try and flick some sand. I'm wondering if he's just waiting for the bigger one behind to give him almost permission to stick his trunk in the hole that he's drinking from and allow him to also have a drink. There's also an elephant that's coming from the left-hand side, a much bigger bull. It'll be interesting to see what happens here between the three of them. Just have a look at that trunk being lifted, having a good sniff. Just trying to figure each other out, it looks like. They were all together earlier, so they do know one another. Both of them lifting their trunks now. And that smaller one looks to be moving off to the left. Just have a look at this one's trunk. Well, I couldn't copy that, but I think the question was how much water elephants need to drink every day, if I'm not mistaken. Well, it depends. That's pretty much the best answer I could give when it comes to how much elephants need to drink. It depends on the time of year. It depends on how hot it is. It depends on the size of the elephant. But look, if these two here, oh, look at that, how sweet, they've got their heads together, sharing a little water hole. How lovely. Look, I mean, it can be anything from 80 to 120 liters of water a day that an elephant would need to drink. But just have a look at these two. I think there may be a little bit of sort of, why are you here? Did you see how the one pushed his head against the other one? But unlike that smaller bull, he's actually moved off completely and is heading down the riverbed away. These two are quite tolerant of each other, and the one isn't quite ready to give up the possession of his waterhole, little digging site that he's been digging. The one on the right-hand side has been there since we got here, making that hole, and now this other bull has come in. And I think he's trying to push him off. Look at that, the one on the right-hand side, well, our right-hand side, is pushing the one on his right away. But he's not quite so willing to move off. It looks like he may let him actually get some water from this hole. Elephant still is squirting out some sandy water there. Look at that. Look how he's pushed the other one and stuck his trunk there, making him move off. Interesting. this elephant just having a look at us now as well. I do know there's some elephants further down behind us. You could be looking at them or hearing or listening, even sniffing them out as well. Oh. I thought that one behind may just make a poo, but it looks like he's decided not to. And I think looks like these elephants may start to head off, and I think we are going to do the same.
I'm happy there was a winner in the elephant competition at Ngala with Amy. So I'm still sitting with a very sleepy dark mane. He's only gotten up once or twice to have a brief look around, and then he's gone back to sleep. We have had to switch over into infrared as the light is dropping very quickly. Hopefully that means he might get up soon. Have a listen to the last calls before nightfall of all the different birds that are around us. Definitely a lot of activity happening. Hopefully dark mane decides to follow suit and get up as it gets nice and dark now with those last few rays of light you can see in the background. Absolutely stunning.
We just repositioned a little bit. You'll see a spotlight now because his guest had just arrived, so they're going to put their spotlight on him. But yeah, we just kind of moved a little bit for our IR to be slightly better. And you can see him actually eating the scrub here a little easier, but he's almost done now. He's devoured quite a lot of it. Eaten the kind of front legs, well, one side of the body. I think he's still got the other side to go. Still trying to pluck a lot of fur. I wonder how long it's going to take him to finish this. It's amazing the difference, you know, when you see like the likes of a tortoise pan or a Tingana or Mulawati, those kind of sized leopards, this thing just gets smashed in the space of 2-3 minutes, and they are able to kind of bring it down and just dismantle it, whereas younger leopards like this, you know, it takes them a little longer to actually figure it out. There's actually a lot more there. I thought he had eaten the front legs. He's been going at it for a while, but maybe he's just rolling it around, plucking as much fur off as possible. You can actually see when he lifts his mouth, It's full of hair. Clear, yes, a leopard can survive on just scrub hairs if it eats them regularly enough. The thing with that is that you'd have to have a good population of scrub hares, and you'd also have to have a certain size of leopard. You know, big male leopards are not going to get that size on just scrub hares. They're going to need a lot more protein than that. Unless they were eating 3-4 scrub hares a night, which is going to be very difficult. Catching that amount of food is not an easy feat. So yeah, I mean, it's possible, but highly unlikely for that to happen. Still just crunching away. I think he's eating around the head now. It looks like an ear that's being chomped down. It's weird how leopards absolutely love ears. I don't know why they do, but they do. It's an odd thing. So you can see he gets a little bit more watchful when the cars move, because obviously he's trying to make sure that he doesn't miss a hyena or something like that could potentially run in and grab it from him. Nathan, who's 12 years old, so fur could potentially give him a fur bill. So what you'll find with them is that they eat fur and bone, and some of that won't digest, and then they'll actually eat grass, and it causes them to get sick, and that's what you would know as a fur ball that will come out. But yeah, it does give them fur balls. It's why they try and pluck it and try and get rid of it. And you can imagine if they get too much fur in there, it takes space for meat, which they want to digest and eat and gain nutrients from, whereas the fur is not going to give them much. So they try and get rid of that as much as possible. But ultimately, when you're eating like this, and they don't have a knife to skin it and clean it up, that they're going to get some fur in there, and that build-up of fur and bone then gets regurgitated out as fur balls. So they definitely do get them. They also groom themselves a lot, which means they'll get a lot of fur from that. So it's not an uncommon thing for them to have. You can see it's just eating the little innards at the moment, starting to eat the intestines and kidney and liver and heart. Those are the most nutritious parts, so they start there, and then they'll start to go for the legs and kind of rump and head. And a scrub hare, it's not as important as an impala, or not as definitive as an impala with the way that they feed. Here they just eat whatever they can, whereas in impalas and things like that, they're pretty surgical, so they start kind of between the back legs and eat their way forward on the carcass. Bar the ears. The ears often go quite quickly on a carcass, and the nose. But yeah, the most of it is the internal organs, and then the back straps and rump and all that. So surprised he decided to eat it here, of all places. He had all these options, and he eventually chose just to settle right next to the main road where lots of hyenas walk anyway, and lots of cars go up and down. So a weird spot for him. I think he just got to the point where it's actually like, enough of this walking. There's no tree that I really want, and no one's following me, so I'm just going to stop here and eat it. And it's a lot more comfortable. You can see compared to where he was fighting with the scrubhead to stay in the tree and on the branch, and Drongo's bombing him. This just makes so much more sense. It's easier, and less effort in many ways. You know, it doesn't have to balance. You can just put the scrub hair down and feed without worrying about dropping it. So what primarily leads hyenas to predators that have got a prey item? Most of the time it's audio. So when they kill something, it makes a distress call, and that distress call brings the hyenas in. If they drag something, so if they walk with something and it's actually dragging on the floor, then it's a scent process and they'll use their nose. Sometimes even with just leopards with walking, they'll actually put their noses onto that and they follow the scent of the leopard where it's walked, because they know sometimes leopards are very successful and very opportunistic and they can grab things like scrub hairs. So they'll kind of follow the scent of the leopard. So it's a bit of both. Primarily though, in what we saw this afternoon, that kind of time reaction is hearing, but if it's a long delayed response, then it's sense of smell. So either or. I think both get used pretty equally, and sometimes even both will be used in order to locate a predator with its prey. They're pretty efficient animals, our hyenas. It's uncanny how quick they can get to a kill and how quickly they smell it out if they haven't been there and it's not actually made a noise. It always amazes me to see that process and how quickly they kind of get there. Yeah, it's hard for these leopards out here. Right, well, unfortunately we are going to have to leave him. There's another 2-3 vehicles that actually want to come in here, so we're going to make some space and carry on. Maybe we'll bump something else as we start to make our way slowly home.
As WildEarth has shown, a guide is critical to your enjoyment when on safari. Safari Guide of the Year is an annual event which creates awareness for these men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. WildEarth fully supports this initiative that gives more credit to a profession that drives our economy and flies South African flags higher than most. In the lead up to our live award ceremony, where the Safari Guide of the Year 2021 will be crowned, we are inviting all our viewers to join us for a special fireside chat. Open to everyone, this unique event invites some of the top guides in the country to Juma on the 26th of September, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Are now doing the Hales halt, where they have to run back and forth to a target, turn, take aim and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
We have got a grooming dark mane. He He finally seems to be showing some signs of getting up. He's yawned a good few times and now he's grooming his paws. And this is a really good sign with any of the predators. Yawning and grooming are immediate signs of activity, as though he wants to get up and move. So you can hear some of our nightlife coming alive now. Water thickneys calling in the background. Some insects as well. And a really good grooming session happening. Look at those teeth. So he's paying quite close attention to clean under his eyes. And Dark Mane is currently just to the north of Vuyotela Dam and the dam cam. In fact, just opposite Vuyotela Camp. So we're on a road called Mvubu Road. And he's almost on the road. So at the base of that termite mound, that's actually the road that you can see there coming into the frame. So he's not far at all from where he was last night. I think he was just sleeping along the riverbed somewhere during the day today. Keeping cool. I wonder what he can hear. Atlanta, I'm with you all the way. I'm hoping he creates some incredible magic for the end of drive tonight. A really big, powerful roar would be phenomenal to end off with. He certainly wasn't shy through the night last night, so I'm hoping he does the same tonight. The way that his mane has blown up in the wind makes it look extra good right now. Standing up. So I wonder if he'll move tonight, and if he does, where he'll go. Paying very close attention to this grooming session, making sure he's cleaned all the areas where there's a bit of moisture below his eyes, on his muzzle. And that's because a lot of dust will have accumulated there, sticking to the moisture, but at the same time, flies would have landed there during the day today as well. So just cleaning everything off, making sure he is as clean as possible. He's definitely hearing something that we're not. Yes. And so the magic happens right at the end of drive. I think he's definitely heard some lines in the distance calling to each other on his right, and then he turns suddenly to the left. And that was his cue to make himself known. Atlanta, you called it. You saw it coming. What a phenomenal way to end off an evening. I think that's just more than we could have asked for. And I'm hoping that he carries on right through the night. It's been so wonderful to be able to spend some time with him as we've gone into the evening tonight. And then finally have him wake up and just blow us away with the volume of those roars. It felt like the vehicle was vibrating sitting next to him here. Absolutely so spoiled, but thank you so much for witnessing everything with us this afternoon and for joining us. Please join us again tomorrow morning where we can show you some more magic. We're really looking forward to sharing this with you. Good night, everybody.